This one actually comes from Stephen Belial. He says, what's more important for the design of Hole 18 on the Pro Tour? A scenic one that allows for large galleries and great viewing of the hole, such as Hole 18 at Fox Run, or scoring separation that allows for big swings to create drama and possibly have a more exciting ending. The example he chose is Hole 18 at Open at Austin. Obviously, there's a healthy combo that's ideal, such as 18 at Waco, but I feel like a lot of courses completely neglect 18 needing to be memorable from a viewing standpoint. Imagine 2020 Worlds with little to no crowd being able to view that shot. So what's more important? Basically, scenic allows for large galleries or scoring separation. Yeah. If you have to choose one of you.
Well, he threw in like the caveat of like the world shot, and here's what there's an interesting balance because right now the galleries for most Pro Tour events are kind of like meh. Like you could smash them into just about any disc golf hole and it would be fine. Worlds and USDGC in particular are going to have your biggest galleries of the year probably in like European Open. So like they have to be thinking completely differently than most every other tournament during the entire season. So they're kind of outliers because they have to think a lot more about the gallery. Because I would say most Pro Tour events can get away with leaning more towards let's just make it a good Hole 18 because most of our people are watching online anyways. There's like a few hundred people at the event. But, you know, obviously, if you were going to build a course that you wanted to be around for a long time and, like, be able to continue to work on tour, you need to make sure it has that, like, future-proofness to it. Like, there needs to be space for spectators. But, like, if Hole 18 can only fit 500 people on it, that's not a problem in most Pro Tour events, I feel like.
So you're leaning more toward it's more important for scoring separation.
Right now.
Sounds like you're leaning more towards it doesn't really matter right now. Because it
doesn't matter about
enough people.
It doesn't. It's not super important to worry about the spectators. If spectators were like, if we had 5,000 people at every event, I would say that both are super important. But you have to then it's like the spectators come first because they're here. We have to accommodate them no matter what. We have to work around them. But if they're not there and there's only a few of them, then you don't really have to consider that as much.
I have a question that might help answer this question a little bit more. What is more beneficial to disc golf? The at-home viewing experience being really good or the in-person experience being really good? What makes disc golf bigger in the long run?
For money growth, you're saying?
Yeah.
Currently, the at-home viewing experience. Simply because as of last numbers we saw, I don't know if it went up or down, there were 44,000 people that were subscribed to DGN.
Yeah.
That money goes straight to the Pro Tour, which will go to enhancing eventually the in-person experience.
Yeah.
The problem is if you focus so much on the in-person experience and you neglect the at-home experience, you're not going to draw in more than a few hundred more people. So now you increase from 500 to 600, whereas an increase on the DGN side might go from 44,000 to 50,000.
Yeah, you have to know what's realistic and how many people are realistically going to show up to a disc golf event. And right now that pool just isn't even that big to begin with. It's not I don't really believe, it might be fun to kind of fantasize about this, but I don't really believe that there's these 1,000 people pools that would go to a disc golf tournament that aren't because of something that's going on at the disc golf tournament or a lack of spectator accommodation
adding a concert will get them out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I just think that's just fiction at that point. But there's already a huge group of people that are at least subscribing to the Pro Tour Network. I think there's a lot of people probably the majority of the people who are subscribed just don't even watch it,
which is crazy. Doesn't make sense.
That just shows you how good the subscription model is in this country.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you focus first because you need to retain them. That's already money you have. You need to make sure you keep it and slowly grow it. It would be one thing if we got to a point in our sport where we're why are we getting 30, 40,000 people watching live and 300 people to show up in person? Then at that point, it's okay, the scales are a little bit off. I do think
Are they though? Because what's the scale of an NFL football game?
Well, there's also expense related to that. It's not a tour. There's games in every city.
Okay, PGA Tour.
If you took everybody, I'd be interested to know the scale. If you took every person in every stadium spectating an NFL game that day and compared it to the broadcast, it'd probably be a little more interesting. But I don't know. I have no idea.
No, okay, a PGA Tour. Is 300 right now?
Yeah. How many viewers does a PGA Tour have on TV versus in person?
Let's say the ratio you just did of 300 to 40,000. How far off is that?
I have no idea.
Because a million some people are watching a weekend golf event, right?
On TV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you
I don't
probably
know.
have 10,000 people in
try and-
person.
Let's try and figure out.
That's
Well,
1%.
Depends on how you count your spectators, right? Because like, I guess if you just went one
Like
day,
Saturday to Saturday.
like if you just
like
took
Saturday
to Saturday,
or I guess it'd be Sunday. Final day on
Okay.
in grounds, final day
How
online of the not of the
many-
Masters.
Yeah, let's just.
but of like
How many
the waste management.
spectator? Well, that's the most heavily spectated event. They have 6-figure people there. Like
Okay, then
they got
Wells Fargo.
I think they put like 100,000 in that.
I was just trying to say one that's like not going to be heavy on
Yeah.
like the Masters is going to be watched at home
Wells
so much because like people who don't watch golf event. While he's googling that, I'll just answer this question. I think that currently it's important to have the green accessible to spectators.
They were expecting
But I think the rest of the
30K to
hole is
40K fans a day.
That
at
makes
Quail
sense. Hunter.
Hollow
Okay.
when we were there.
So 40K a day, and then how many people were watching it
many
at home?
TV viewers. This is actually interesting. How many TV viewers? Wells Fargo Classic. Because I have no idea what that ratio is. Let's see. Golf TV ratings. This might be difficult to find. Well, let's just see. Let's just go to this golf TV rating and see what this says here. Final round. Okay, this is from 2023. This was the final round of the PGA Tour Travelers Championship, and that averaged 2.44 million viewers. So let's just use the figure 2.5 million and 40,000. So you have.
So that's 1.6%.
Okay, so 1.6%.
If there was 40,000 people watching, times 0.016, that would be the equivalent of 600 people being in person.
Okay.
So right now we are a very heavy in-person sport compared to online.
Is that an accurate way to make that
I
argument?
don't know.
Though
I was just saying.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't really know that necessarily.
Because like we probably have 600 people showing up to an in-person event, and there's only probably 6,000 watching online.
You also have to factor in the barrier to entry to get into the event. Like going to a PGA Tour event is an investment. Well, some Pro Tour events.
Pro Tour events are expensive these days.
Yeah, I would say they should be cheaper than they are. But I feel like there might be a little. That might not be a perfect argument, but it is interesting to look at. I feel like a disc golf pro tour at any given place, if they choose the right places, should be able to have on the weekend 1,000 to 2,000 spectators a day.
I would agree.
Like, I don't think that should be that crazy. And I just feel like if a pro tour rolled into our town, we could get 1,000 people on the weekend. But I don't know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, Lynchburg you could, but the question is 5 years from now, could you still?
Right. That's the thing. People, they got to establish. That is where, I will say, like your on-site activation does matter. I think one of the issues with the Pro Tour right now is that new events pop up every year. So you have all these events trying to start tradition. Because here's how it works. We went to a PGA Tour event this past summer.
Going back, baby.
We went. And we want to go right back because we had an experience there. So like if a Pro Tour event put all this work into activation and they had 300 people, they'd probably feel like that was a failure. But the activation isn't to get people there. That only does so much. What it does now is everybody who is there, maybe now 80% want to go back and another 20% are going to bring their friends. And then you grow marginally that way. And it spreads word of mouth because people go and they say, that was an awesome time. You need to come to this next year. Like, that's what activation is for. And I think when you have so many events that are starting anew, they might put work into that and then not see an initial turnout and be like, well, what was that for? Well, it's for the following years. Like, you have to just build something. So
I still think
it'll come along eventually.
I think that one of the biggest barriers is just the pricing. Like some of these Pro Tour events, you have to pay $15 or $20 for your cheapest ticket. And like we would go, if that was in Lynchburg, we'd go. But it's going to be a lot harder for me to convince my friend who doesn't really watch much disc golf to come with me and be like, yeah, you got to pay $20 and go walk and watch a sport you never heard of.
I would like to see them play around with their pricing models a little bit.
The thing is, once you get people in the grounds, then you're selling to a hungry crowd. And you're the only option for food. You're the only option for all this stuff. So your pricing can be a little bit more premium on that end. You can make your margin up there. Even discs. I mean, we see when we go to USDGC, some of the like Innova trailers are charging like $35 for a Halo disc that's custom stamped.
I think
and it's like you would never be able to do that online, but since you're at USDGC and you're walking through, you have this like when else am I going to see that disc? Type of a when that's not really the mentality you should have, but you're able to sell stuff for a lot more expensive. I think that's where you can make more money versus trying to nickel and dime everyone, and then you have half the people show up that would.
Well, I think disc golf is betting on the side of, let's say, like maybe they've done their studies. I don't know. Maybe they've tried this out before. But I think what disc golf is figuring is if you have a pool of 500 like diehard disc golf fans and then 100, well, I would go if it were cheap fans, you're going to just want to price out the disc golf fans because they're going to go no matter what.
Yeah.
And then you're not really losing that much. That would be the feasibility study that you would have to conduct to get the pricing model correct. Because if that's true, I don't necessarily, I'm with you. I don't necessarily think this is true. I think there would be people who would show up if it were cheaper. But like if a Pro Tour rolled into our town, and for the diehard disc golf fans, you could probably charge them a pretty good penny and they would still go because like that is just
there's
awesome.
a point of diminishing returns though. Because like you would get to a certain point where, like,
it just depends on how many people are sitting in that we would go if it were too cheap field.
But I'm saying there's a point where even diehard disc golfers become that.
I agree.
Like
I
20
agree.
bucks.
I don't think they're at that at the moment.
$20, you're already kind of like. I mean, to be a VIP, to get a VIP pass for some of these like 4-day events is like $150, $200.
Yeah, well, that's the VIP though. Like you can go general admission and get a weekend pass for like I feel like $35.
Weekend pass, probably, yeah.
Where
you're going 2 days,
that's
$35.
what most people are going to do.
Though. I'm just saying, it's like that's already. There's some diehard disc golf fans that's already like $35.
I don't think diehard disc golf fan, not the right word. There are some casual disc golf fans who would diehard disc golf fans.
Okay, so casual though, if it's $20 for the weekend pass, they're showing up.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. This is a price. Their pricing model. I don't know how much they've fleshed it out. Like I would like to see them experiment.
I just know whenever I see the tickets come up, every time, 95% of the time, I'll say, I look at it and I go, that's just too expensive.
I agree. I would like to see them take one event close to a good city center and say, for this one event, we're going to make all of our tickets like $5 or like super cheap and just see what happens. And if that proves to be like,
or make admission free,
something,
make admission free and just, you're going to sell food and drink, like make admission free, no outside food or drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd love to see how much USDGC made off of food. Well, I guess it's weird because they're food trucks.
But vending and stuff like they,
Yeah.
USDGC
didn't
takes
make anything off of the food.
USDG, yeah, they do because they take a percentage off the top of every sale. Everyone, that whole vending village, you owe them a percentage off the top of your sale.
Oh,
those
that's
trucks
true,
had
yeah.
to have done awesome.
That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
Every vendor there had a awesome weekend. I heard some of the sales target. I know we had a very solid weekend, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the percentage, but every single vendor there is giving USDGC a percentage of your top line sale.
Is it a pretty decent?
It's a decent percentage.
It is, yeah. No, it is.
So I mean, they made easily six figures, I would say, off of vending alone.
It is honestly crazy when you think about like once you get into the business side of USDGC and you know how much money they're raking in because like you know what kind of cuts they're taking, you know what ticket prices are. It's insane to think about if they did this at a park venue, which that would probably just never work. But if they were to invest in a venue and then never have to pay to rent it out each year, because we also know how much it costs for that, they would make so much money.
Yeah.
Like, because they spend a lot of money on Winthrop and they're making a lot of money, but it has to go straight into that. I'm sure a good bit of it does. Like, man, it stinks. It kind of stinks that they're tied to that property because they are one of the few things in disc golf that like they have a really profitable tournament model that is just like, yeah, it's a freight train.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I'm gonna hop on. Leave this subject after this. But the thing with USDGC is they have earned the right to charge the ticket prices they do. When I first started going, I don't think I paid to go. If I did, it was very cheap. The first year or two I went.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't really remember. There definitely wasn't like security not letting me into different parking lots.
That's like
I know
like
I
2
didn't
years
pay
ago.
the first year I went, but I didn't know if I was supposed to.
Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat. So we're just going to assume if you were supposed to pay, it wasn't
I
much.
hope there's a statute of limitations on
Second
that.
year I did pay though, and it was expensive.
Now they can charge me like $30 or $40, whatever, but I know my experience, so I'm gonna pay it
that is
because
true.
they've earned the right to charge that.
Because
Whereas
they've
a lot
been
of the Pro
good
Tour,
stewards too.
Yeah.
The money they raise.
a lot of the Pro Tour though is like
The start
brand
low,
new
raise
event.
prices is
You have
worse.
no history of what you're about to get. Pay us $40 for the weekend.
Hey,
And it's
yeah.
like, wait,
we
for
all
what?
we all know that the start low and raise prices and take things away model works. Just ask Netflix. If you give somebody a product that they just have to be a part of, like they will be okay with prices getting raised, or they won't be, but they actually will continue to pay it.
Yeah,
They'll just
ask
say
YouTube
that,
TV.
I'm
I think I'm
canceling
paying
my Netflix. I swear I'll do it this time.
I think
No, you're
YouTube
not.
TV. I'm paying basically what I was paying for cable before.
Yeah,
And I still feel like I'm getting cable.
yeah.
I did the opposite. I've got we paid for Netflix for this month so that Gabby could watch the Taylor Swift movie while she was homesick the other day.
There you
There
go.
you go. Yeah,
I can't forget to cancel that.
as a subscription model, baby. That's how there's 45,000 of you paying for DGN right now.